Greetings to everyone from Cyprus. The work presented herein regards planning the urban shift to electromobility using a cost-benefit analysis optimization framework. Our case study will be Nicosia, the capital of Cyprus. We represent the Lab for Transport Engineering of the University of Cyprus. I am Philippos Alogdianakis, and this work has been performed with Professor Lukas Dimitriou, who is also the head of our lab. This presentation consists of a brief introduction, our objective, and a brief introduction to cost-benefit analysis. Then, we're going to be defining our electromobility system and move on to the case of Cyprus. Electromobility is considered by many the future of urban transport, which is also going to have a major shift to vehicles' consumer behavior. Moreover, improvements to the urban environment and the better standard of living are anticipated due to the lower noise and emission levels. However, we know that electromobility relies upon the supply and cleanness of the energy sector. So, a question arises: how beneficial is electromobility for a certain urban system? We know that the energy and transport sectors combined provide a complex system within which the EV ecosystem should be planned. Additionally, each urban environment and the city's needs differ even within the same country, creating the need for optimal policies to reap electromobility's benefits. A framework to optimally plan the shift to electromobility could assist decision makers in achieving a more sustainable urban environment. This work's objective is to provide such a framework. To do so, 4 steps are used within this framework. First, we use the cost-benefit analysis concept and form our mathematical model to the system. In the second step, we define the electromobility system where policies for both transport and energy sector are modeled to affect the whole system and produce benefits and costs. Then we introduce stochasticity to our system and a sensitivity analysis is performed. Finally, optimization methods are used to obtain optimal policies. Then, we could say that the novelty of this proposed framework relies on the fact that optimal policies are obtained from an optimization process subjected to criteria within a highly complex system, giving emphasis to all sustainability aspects. Here we provide a brief introduction to the cost-benefit analysis. Cost-benefit analysis is a tool for assessing the feasibility of an investment, including the monetarized short-term and long-term effects to the economy, society, and environment. Some of its basic concepts are defining the costs and benefits of a system, defining the time frame where these costs and benefits take place, and the use of the net present value, which is used to discount future costs and benefits to their present value based on a specific discount rate. The main tool for the analysis is the benefit to cost ratio, which is used to assess the feasibility of a project or an investment. Thus, a benefit to cost ratio greater than 1 indicates net benefits to the system, while a benefit to cost ratio below 1 indicates net costs of the system. Now, moving to the definition of our system. In this slide, our system is depicted using a spaghetti diagram, where arrows indicate relationships and the numbers correspond to their equations. We can see 6 distinct areas in this diagram. The energy sector, we can see here, is where electricity is generated from either power plants or renewable energy sources. Then we can see the transport sector, whose main part is the consumer choice model. Based on this model, either an ICV, which stands for internal combustion vehicle, is chosen, or an EV is chosen. This is the assumption performed herein, that we can either have an EV or an ICV. The consumer choice model takes into consideration the diffusion of innovation, vehicle operational costs, vehicle purchase costs, charging stations and fuel stations, which regard the refueling convenience, and the vehicle status. Moreover, if we move to the area between the two sectors, we're going to see that this is the economy sector, where the GDP relies, the growth rate affecting the GDP also exists, and here we can see the resources used from the system. If we move to the outer skirts, we're going to see that these areas regard the decision-making areas for either sectors. So here we have the policy sector section for the energy sector, and here we have the policy section for the transport sector. By changes within the system, we have different costs and benefits generated herein. To just show the dependence of the system, we have highlighted here a change in the growth rate. So if we move to the next slide, we're going to see all subsystems and variables affected by this change. We can see that new costs and benefits are derived. In this slide, we see the different equations formed for the transport sector and the energy sector. Using these equations, the costs and benefit equations are formed. So we can see here the benefit and the cost equation. Using these two equations, the net present value is used and the benefit to cost ratio is calculated. And this is how we perform the cost-benefit analysis. Moving on to our case study of Nicosia, some information is provided from the energy sector and transport sector for the country and urban level respectively. The electricity generation uses power plants and renewable energy sources. However, national agreements have a gradual CO2 reduction, which states that in 2050 a net zero emissions goal has to be reached. Moreover, natural gas has been discovered in the island's vicinity, and the new pipeline and grid connections have been agreed to be constructed in the nearby future. Moreover, if we move to the Nicosia's urban level, we have a model split that contains 85% of private vehicles, which most of them regard petrol vehicles. Moreover, these vehicles are old in age, and only 1% of the total vehicles around concerned EVs. The case study of Nicosia is presented via the do-nothing scenario. However, for brevity purposes, stochasticity analysis, sensitivity analysis, and optimization processes are not included herein. The time frame considered for the analysis is between 2020 and 2050. Changes incorporated regard to the gas becoming available in 2028 and the pipeline and grid connection to becoming established within the same year. However, policies that affect the transport and energy sector are kept frozen herein. So, additional assumptions relate to technology of ICVs and EVs, constant growth rate, and increasing crude oil prices, import costs at 10%, and grid losses at 10%. Basic system inputs and results are depicted in this slide. Here we can see the electricity supply of the energy sector and the fuels used to generate it. So we can see here the major shift between the initially used fuels and the natural gas that becomes available after 2028. Moving to the transport sector, we can see here the different parameters and the resulting consumer choice model, which results in a probability of car preference 50% being EV in 2029. In this slide, we see the fleet results and CO2 emissions. First, we see the Nicosia's fleet composition, which in 2050 we see that it has 90% of the vehicles being EVs. Next, if we see the CO2 production of Nicosia's fleet, we see a gradual reduction up to 92% by 2050 due to the fact that most of these vehicles are EVs. Moreover, if we see the production of the country's energy sector combined with Nicosia's fleet, as we can see here, we have a gradual decrease due to the introduction of natural gas, and here we can see the CO2 limits for the CO2 production. To assist the CBA presentation results for Nicosia, the CBA results have been segmented to different CBA types, financial and socio-environmental, and also they have been segmented to the different sectors, the transport and energy sector. The overall CBA that will be presented presents the aggregation of all systems and CBA sections. In this slide, the cost-benefit analysis results for Nicosia are depicted using the segmentation mentioned in the previous slide. Now, for the financial cost-benefit analysis, we see with the red line the benefit to cost ratio, which, as we mentioned earlier, an above 1 benefit to cost ratio corresponds to benefits for the system, while a benefit to cost ratio below 1 corresponds to cost of the system. As we can see here, due to the fact that the benefit to cost ratio for transport sector decreases due to the fact that no EV electricity taxation has been performed, and there is a big reduction from fuel tax income due to the decrease in ICV numbers. For the case of the energy sector, this is due to the fact that CO2 goals are not reached, CO2 prices increase, and fuel prices increase as well. Moreover, if we move to the socio-environmental CBA, we're going to see an increasing benefit to cost ratio, which indicates a system which is socio-environmentally beneficial. However, if we move to the energy sector, we're going to see that the benefit to cost ratio is below 1, which is due to the fact that low-res production is used. If we move to the overall CBA, we see that there is the socio-environmental benefits are concealed, and we can understand that optimization processes could assist us in taking optimal decisions. To conclude, the complex system of electromobility was defined in this work by providing a framework to obtain optimal policies. The case study of urban Nicosia was presented for the do-nothing scenario, which showed that electromobility is financially and socio-environmentally beneficial. Using the framework within the considered time frame and the country-specific goals, optimal policies can be objectively defined as part of a larger sustainable mobility plan. Thank you for your attention. I will be glad to answer any of your questions.